Okay, 2 early birds today, that's good. It's going to be an experiment again today. I'm going to talk about a producer starter kit that Giles made. And I'll try to install it live on my second laptop. And I'm going to follow the manual that Giles wrote, so that it can go wrong, but it gives it at the same time the opportunity to see if something's wrong, because I installed it, the quick starter kit, when doing from time to time wall show, and it works. But my view today is going to be, let's say someone has bought a laptop, played a little bit with vMix shortcuts and has an X-Keys 24, and instead of reinventing the wheel, it's a starting point. It's maybe not for everyone, but this is what I'm going to talk today. Probably I'll try to keep it at around 30 minutes. And because the manual, almost halfway, the manual, Giles is talking about advanced features like zoom and stuff like that. And I thought it's maybe a good idea to do this in 2 pieces. So next week, part 2, because otherwise it's going to be a very long talk just showing stuff to install, and I'm not sure that everything is going to work. So probably when we arrive, and maybe it can be a little bit longer than 30 minutes, I'm going to say, okay, next week, part 2. What I'm also going to do is probably in 2 weeks or so, something special about data sources. I explained yesterday a little bit, and I got some answers, questions from people doing this. So probably, but it's going to be an explanation really from the basic, explaining what data sources are, the different kind of data sources, and so on. So yeah, I think I have some material for 2-3 weeks. Okay, I see here it's almost 8 o'clock, so I'm going to prepare myself. And let's hope that everything is going to work. Yes, it's 8 o'clock, so let's start the show. This show is sponsored by X-Keys, the company that knows how to push a button. Hello everyone, and welcome. Episode number 15 already. And yeah, as usual, it's going to be probably a special episode. I'm going to try out something. Today's show is the first part in 2 parts, probably, about the producer quick starter kit that Giles made. And I'm going to install it live on my second laptop, so some things can go wrong. And instead of just installing it and clicking and showing you, I'm going to follow the manual that Giles wrote. So I'm going to show you everything, what needs to be done, and we're going through the manual step by step, as it was you that is going to install the producer starter kit. Hi Kenny, welcome. I'm Hi Classic TV Ads. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the chat. I'll try to do my best, but I noticed that if I focus too much on the chat, that I often click something somewhere wrong. So this is something I have to look for. But before I start explaining the producer starter kit, for those who didn't watch SOLS yesterday, or maybe people who are watching only my show or later, I have a small, little announcement, and that's about IBC in September. As you probably know, last year I went to IBC in Amsterdam, the biggest audiovisual meeting, and vMix and all the big guys were there. And the second day of my visit, I went again to the vMix booth and I helped them out a little bit, which was very nice. And last week I got an email from Tim asking if I was interested in helping them out, but for the whole 5 days. So it's going to be tough because it's 5 days, almost from 9:30 till 6 o'clock. And probably not going to have a lot of time to pay visit to all the other booths. But after some thinking, I said, okay. So what that means is that in September are going to be 6 days in Amsterdam, and I'm going to help vMix 5 days, explaining how vMix is working, and probably going to do some translation work. But I'm really look forward to that event. And probably there's going to be a live stream, but that's something for later. Okay, see here in the chat, still the Optimus things don't talk. Let's not talk about this Optimus thing anymore. Let's talk about the Producer Quick Starter Kit, better known as the PQSK. What is that? Well, maybe first, what do you need for it? A PC, of course, with vMix. Which version? I tell you later. You need an X-Keys 24, and if you really want to start, very simple. USB mic, USB camera, and you can start. There were a lot of questions about shortcuts and things months and months ago when we started with SOLS. So Giles, together with PI Engineering, the makers of X-Keys, decided to do a collaboration and put together a kit. Now, for those who don't know X-Keys, let me see if I can bring you this up. So X-Keys, who is by the way also a sponsor of this show, they are making a lot of USB MIDI devices. And one of the, almost one of the cheapest ones is the X-Keys 24. And this is something, what a lot of us are using now. So you need the X-Keys 24. In Europe, it's, and as always, the links are going to be in the description. In Europe, it's xkeysuk.com. Then what do you need? Of course, you need the Producer Quick Starter Kit. And you just have to go, and let me see if I can bring this one up. Okay, let's do this. So just go to www.stepbackintime.tv/downloads.html. There is documentation, video guides, which is under construction, but here, if you don't click download here, it's going to download everything from Dropbox folder. To win some time, I've already downloaded it. And it's going to give you a folder, and I'm going to swap to my other screen here. This is somewhere. I know I have to do this. Okay. So after you downloaded it, you see here folder PQSK. It's a zipped folder, and you just unzip it. And from there, we're just going to follow. Hi Martin, good evening. From here, we're going to follow the explanation. So let me show you this. What you see here is 34 pages that Charles has written, and everything is very well documented. And this is what we're going to do today. So we're just going to follow all these steps. So I'm going to quit everything here. So it's created by Giles together with PI Engineering. I'm not going to read everything, only the most important thing. Some people from SOLS amongst me have tested it, gave Giles some feedback, and Giles made it better and better. Now, the first thing is here, please label your keys before going any further. So you see here that I've put some keys on it, and Giles has made this one. By the way, this is just as an example, but these are the keys that are going to be on the X keys 24. So you see a lot of inputs, slides, audio, microphone, lower third, merge cut, start end. But we're going to talk about all these buttons later. But this is just an example how you can make your keys, your labels. I struggled a little bit. I said, yeah, where can I find something? If you go to the website of a X keys, you're going to find, and I'll put a link in my description. You're going to find an Adobe Illustrator and a PDF document that can help you create your own labels. And you have to be very good with scissors, but that's a problem I have. So after you have labeled everything, then Giles talked a little bit about license. If you like the producer starter kit, which is free, but you say, yeah, I really like the concept, but I prefer some other shortcuts, some other keys, and this and that. You can just mail stepbackintime.tv@gmail.com, and you that's a paid-for remote support. So Giles can help you to create your own X keys 24 for vMix, but that's a paid remote support. Okay, then we come at the pre-installation, which is already very interesting, because as the vMix profile uses 27 inputs. What that means is that it will not work with the free basic version and the basic HD version. So it only works with the full SD version, the full HD version, the 4K and the Pro version. So that's a limitation. If you have the free version of the free basic version SD, it's not going to work. Then there are some pre-flight checks. So if you already used vMix, Giles recommends that you save any configurations you already have made. So how do you do that? Let me start up vMix on my second laptop, and let me share my left screen. It's here. Nope. This one. So to save a configuration on the top right, here you can click on settings, and then here export. So if I click here on export, I can give my configuration a name, save it, and if necessary I can reuse this configuration again. Now the second step is to set vMix to factory default settings. And how do we do it? So everything is clean. So because you see here now that probably there are some shortcuts and stuff like that, 2 shortcuts. So if we go to settings here on the top right corner, and settings here, and then it's normally default here. So we first exported our old version, we click on default, and you get a notice that all settings will be reset to default. Do you wish to proceed? Yes. And this is what happens when you normally start vMix for the first time. So as I'm in Europe, I'll always use for the moment 1080 25p. So I choose this one. Okay. Restart vMix to apply changes. So I'm going to say yes. And if I click now here on shortcuts, you see that my shortcuts are gone and stuff like that. So we have a completely clean version of vMix to start with. Then Giles is suggesting to install virtual audio cables. It's not mandatory, but if you're going to work with the Zoom or other external programs, it's going to make things a lot easier. But we're probably going to talk about this next week. So to install the virtual audio cables, that can be found on this link. So there are plenty of other programs. This is the one we're using. So it's at http://muzichenko.net/eng/vac.html. There is a free version, and I've bought the, well, I paid a very small fee because it gave me more virtual audio cables, and I wanted to support this guy. So you just download it. Again, it's going to be a compressed folder. You install it, and the first time, because I struggled with that, so I'm just going to show you what I did here. So if I open virtual audio cables here somewhere, I think, let me see where it is. Okay, here you see under virtual audio cables a lot of other things. Just click on the control panel, and here by default you see here that there is only one virtual audio cable set. The rest, if you're interested, pay attention. I didn't pay attention to anything of it. I just put here this one on 3, you click on the set button, and yes, of course, because I can't do it right now because it's already using, but you have to put this one on 3, click it on set. Yeah, it's again, I hate this Windows thing because I don't have administrative privileges on this. But let's say you put this on 3 because it's already in use, and then you're okay. Okay. So the virtual audio cables are installed. And then the next thing is we have to prepare some audio settings. So click Settings, Audio Outputs, and here Master Audio, set it to Enabled, and set A and B also to Enabled, or if you're going to use Zoom and stuff like that, line 1 for the first virtual cable, and line 2, but I couldn't select it here because it was already in use, line 2 for B. And then you click, I'm just going to click here, Enabled, and then you click OK, restart vMix, and these are the pre-flight checks for the audio. Then Giles is talking a little bit about the X keys mapping. So he wanted to use the second channel, MIDI channel, for X keys 24, but that caused some problems, and there were some bugs in it. By the way, before you do all this, the best thing you can do before installing the starter kit is, of course, connect all your equipment, your X keys and your cameras and your audio. So, but now to see if the X keys is on the first channel, we have to click here to verify if it's correct on Settings, Shortcuts, and here this button, MIDI Settings, and channel, normally channel mappings, and here you can see that it's here on channel 1, X keys 24, channel 1, okay, and okay. So normally now, and I see there's a green light on my X keys, this should be okay. Have a quick look. Okay, here you have to run the VSC control panel as administrator. Okay, you can right click on it, and that is why I'm a Mac user and I don't know a lot. I know my way in Windows. Okay, let's see, let's give it a quick try. The video audio cables, virtual audio cable, right click on the control panel, oops, right click, nope, and run it as administrator. But here it's, for me, more probably run as administrator. Yes. Let's see if this is working now. I think I had this before. It's already in use, so I have to kill it because it's already in use. I have to kill it and then reinstall it. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So the X keys, the mapping has been done. Now for the installation, Giles is saying, okay, close vMix if it's running. So I'm going to close vMix. Download the zip file containing the profile. That has been done already. Unzip this file and place the producer quick starter kit folder in my documents, or where it's most convenient. Giles recommends my documents. So what I did is here on documents, you see here QSK. So this is the producer starter kit. So if I open this folder, you see here a lot of things we're going to discuss later. And the ice cream car is here. I don't have any time now for an ice cream. So the QSK, the quick starter kit, has been placed in documents. Okay. Giles is telling, do not move or copy any of the files from this folder, as this may cause problems while you are performing the initial setup. Also, do not move or rename this folder once you have configured the profile, otherwise it may not be able to find the file it needs. Okay, so do not move or copy anything to another place. Okay, running the profile. If vMix is running, please close it now. It is closed. First, make sure all control surfaces, the X keys, cameras, capture devices and audio interfaces are plugged in, switched on, enabled and ready to function. And then double click the profile which is named after your controller. So it's going to be this one, X keys. And there is a notice, because a lot of people are probably going to open vMix and try to open the profile from in vMix. The problem is that vMix is not going to be able to find all the files. So you really have to double click here in the Finder on the profile. So what I'll do is, and let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to double click on the X keys. Drum roll, please. It's going to open vMix. Loading presets. And now it's probably going to ask me some questions where all the things are, but as everything was in the correct place, it's not asking me any questions. So, and normally the light on my controller should be working, but as you see, and this is why I wanted to do it really live, no lights so far. So if they do not, because Giles is telling me this now in the manual, if they do not, click Settings, Activators, and you see here in red, no devices have been enabled yet. Click Enable Devices to set them up. So I have to click on Enable Devices, and I have to tick X keys controller, OK, and OK. And now I don't know if you can see it, but there are some lights blinking. So everything is up and running. So if you are, because by default the profile is a 1080p 25 profile. If you're in the States, it may be prompted to change your video standard settings, and you have to change that to the settings you want. So for that it's going to be to settings here, display, if I'm correct, display here, and here you set it to the correct master frame rate and output size. You can change it to NTSC if you're in the States or elsewhere, where here in Europe we have 25p or 50p, and this is 1080. The next thing is the external settings will also need to be configured. These should be set to the same as the main production, in this case 1080p. So check this by going to Settings, External Output, and external, dependent of which version you have, check external 1 and check external 2. So if I here untick these things for a moment, so I'd see here PAL 25p output size. This is yeah, so I can say 9020 1080, this 9020 1080, external, this okay. So everything is the same now. So this is also been done. A small remark for NTSC users. NTSC users will need to save the preset in order to prevent vMix from prompting to change video standards every time you load the profile. Because this profile has been a 1080p 25, if you're not saving the profile after you made all the changes, it's going to ask you every time to do these changes. So save the profile. Okay. So we are now on page 9 of 34, but I think we're almost halfway of the explanation of today. Because Giles didn't know, of course, how many cameras you have and how, what your audio is all about, you have to do some work now, because it's the producer starter kit is making use of a lot of multi-overlays, multi-views. And what you certainly best not do is to close any of the inputs that are already there now, or to change them, because that can bring some problems. So as a general rule, if the input is lower than 27, because there are already 27 inputs, do not close or move them. So start from, if I show you this one here, you see here there are 27 inputs. You're going to start with input 28. Okay, we're going to add a camera. I only have I've connected my webcam to that laptop, so that should work. So probably you know already how to do that. So click on Add Input, click on Camera, and here you choose the correct camera. Here I think it's HD Pro Webcam 920. If you are not going to use the audio input from the camera, and I'm not using the audio from my Logitech, here audio device, instead of using microphone, choose none. That's going to prevent some problems with feedback and stuff like that. So if you're not using the audio input from your camera, just choose none here. Click OK. And you see here that now my first input, and let me, you see here that my first input is number 28. And this process you have to repeat for all your cameras you have. A bit later I'm going to tell you that input number 7 and 8 are reserved for other things, but so we've added the cameras, but now we have to add, we just added them as an input. Now we have to add them to the production. And to add them to the production is here, you have here a tab, inputs number 1 to number 8. You click on that, and starting with input number 1, you click here on the gear wheel, then select the multi-view on the left, and on here number 4, multi-view number 4 here, you choose your input. So my input was 28. I haven't changed the name, so I choose this one now. And my camera is now added to the production. What that means is I can use now the button number 1 to put this input into preview. If you want to use green screen, there's something else to do, but that's for the second part next week. So this one is okay. And you see here now, or if I click again on here, I'm on inputs 1 to 8. You see here that there is on cam 1, there is an input. That you have to do for all your cameras. So let's say normally I have two cameras, my main camera and my Logitech. So on input 28 I have added my main camera, on 29 my second camera. The first one I put here on cam 1, the second one on cam 2. Okay, and let me see if there are some questions or whatever. Oh yeah, I love the ice creams. 2 minutes to go. Yes, sorry John. It's going to take a little bit longer because I really want to end this thing today. So this you have to repeat for all your cameras. Now, to avoid having to configure more than you need to do, camera 1 to 6, these are for general purpose. So you can use for your cameras and other video sources. If you're going to use zoom, 7 and 8 are reserved. You see here, camera 7, zoom gallery view, and input number 8 for the full screen in zoom. But that's something for next week. If you don't use zoom, then of course, if you say that, yeah, I really need 7 or 8 inputs, but I'm not using zoom, you can change these for a camera. But by default, they are for zoom, and they are NDI local desktop captures. Okay, the next thing is setting up the audio inputs. The first one is talkback microphone. So you can skip it if you do not require the talkback system. I'm just going to show it to you. I don't have a USB microphone, so I can't show you how to do it. And my main microphone is of course connected to my main production suite. But if I click here on the pink one thing, audio B-roll tab, then you see here input number 12, talkback producer mic. You click again on the gear icon. You click on general, and then here you click on change. Do you wish to continue? Yes. And for audio device, here audio input, audio device, you select the internal sound card microphone. Often it's microphone high definition audio. So here it's Realtek high definition audio. And I'm going to say mute in headphones, so I don't have to tick the button of the headphones. So okay, I can close that, and now my talkback microphone is configured. Maybe the most important microphone is the microphone or microphones that your presenter or presenters are using. And Giles has written in the manual, unless you are making silent movies, you will need to configure this to record your audio. So you have to find the input name production audio, which is input number 14. You click again on the gear icon, general, change, and here you choose your audio device. I don't have a microphone connected here. Let's say for this heaven's sake that I just use the one from my webcam. But you choose your correct microphone. If you're using an ASIO driver, then you have to remember to select the channel on which your studio mic is connected. The disadvantage, but at the same time the advantage of my LNN Neat mixer is I only have one output, so I can't make any mistake. If you don't have any audio and you have connected your mixer or audio device, please check if you have chosen the correct channel. So I'm going to click OK now, and now my microphone is also configured. More about ASIO in ASIO drivers on Wall Show. Now we're almost ready to produce a program. So what we are going to do now is adding an intro, an opening, and close your video sequences and cameras. So Giles has provided a demo configuration. You can use these to experiment, but please to see how the profile works. But of course you have to add your own intro and credit videos. But you have a starting point, and then you can change everything. Now the most important tab here to configure everything is in the storyboard tab. So you click here on storyboard, and here we're going to do some configuration. So the first thing Giles is saying, click the list pop-up panel icon to display the playlists. This is not the playlist button here, so not this button, but here the list button. So I click this one, and using the drop-down list, find show start. So if I click here on the drop-down list, there is input number 18 is show start, and you see here that there is already an intro, Wolf's intro. Of course you have to change this one to your own. And you have to do the same for show stop. So if I go to show stop, so this is just the intro when you're going to start your show, and when you're going to show stop, say you have another movie to end your live stream, you put it here under playlist show stop. I'm not going to do the advanced, that's something for you to read. There is also a third-party playlist, called opening playout. So this playlist is very useful to put the sponsor or promotional messages in. If you watch Wall Show, you see that after the intro from Giles is playing, there's a small thing about the sponsor, Tom Sinclair. And what is very important is that the opening playout list must end or with an audio track or with a transparent video clip included. Because you're going to see, if you're going to push the start button and it's not going after a sequence, it's not going to switch to your opening camera, that's going to be the problem. I didn't read the manual very well, so again, to repeat, the opening playout list must end with an audio track or the transparent video clip that is included. Okay, now we're going to say what camera we want as our opening shot. So you decide, okay, I want a close-up of myself, or I want a wide shot. So we need to find the opening camera input. Sometimes I want this to be a little bit bigger. Here, opening camera 22. Oops. Opening camera. And here, if you come on, oh, I hate this. You click on the gear icon, the multi-view, and here on number 4, you decide which camera you want as your first camera when you're going to be live. So now it's my first camera, but if you have multiple cameras, let's say, oh no, I want the overhead because maybe I want to show my X-Keys 24 with my first shot. You choose here camera number 2. Okay, we almost finished. Well, almost. We're almost halfway. Check your recording settings. So we click here on the gear icon next on the left of record, and by default it's a very low bitrate that vMix is using. On my make production thing, I've chosen again, it's 1080p here 25, and for bitrate I've chosen 12, but it depends on your PC and yeah, and other stuff. I've chosen here bitrate of 12. That's quality wise a very good one for me, and the audio bitrate 192, it's okay. And here you can also decide if you want, normally it's your master, but if you want to record bus A or bus B in your recordings, you can decide that, of course. And here you can have 2 recordings. I'm using MP4, by the way. If you want, if you're going to edit the recording, let's say, okay, I'm doing this professionally, and I have a client, and he really wants the best quality, then you can choose AVI. It's going to be your file size is going to be a lot bigger, but your quality is going to be a lot better, and you can edit in an audio program. So my recording is also set here. Okay, A recordings, and by default it's called SOLS MP4. Well, I'm going to say no, Charles, it's SOLS .mp4, and I'm going to say okay. So now my recording is also set. Now this should be normally everything we have to do, and I have a small problem here. Okay, so here on the producer starter kit, and now it's going to be I think a little bit tricky. When you press the start button, the system will automatically start recording and play out your intro clip. At the end of your intro clip, the start clip will fade away to reveal whatever you have configured. So let's do. So this is the start, and normally you're going to see here on the screen that if everything is configured okay, that the recording is going to start, and that the intro video and all the things are going to start if I configured everything well. So I'm going to push the start button, and you see now that, well, this is an example of the whole show. There's going to be an overlay, the date. After that's finished, there is a small explanation about how to call in to the show. It's on the, and then Giles is giving the example here how to do it, but because we are using YouTube chat now, it's not in the walls. thing. But you see here that some stuff is, this is the playlist that it's going to be, and now probably it's going to fade to Tom's message. This is Tommy. So let's give it some time here. So this is still an explanation about what to do and how to set up your audio if you want to call in via Zoom, which was very well done, by the way, Giles. So after the intro is done, I think normally now Tom sponsor message. No, it switches, yeah, because I forgot it. Now it switches here to my main camera and the inputs. Now what you see here, the overlays, there are still some things to configure later. But you also see here, and remember in a few shows that someone told me, well, why didn't you record automatically? This is be done now automatically. The moment I pushed record, start the show, record was done. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to stop the recording here. It's not the correct way, but we are almost, because I think at 9 o'clock there is a show at SOLS that's going to start, but we are almost finished for today. Opening titles and credit roll. So edit the title sequence title input to change what appears over the intro video. If you don't want anything, you can blank it out. So the title sequence title, storyboard. Here, title sequence title. If I right click here, title editor, here you see that Giles says when we started the date was there. You can put, of course, whatever you want. This is for the title sequence. You can put whatever you want. The same thing for the credits. If you see here, at the end there were some here the credits. So at the end, if you click again here, title editor, so Giles created with special thanks to all the people who work together on the producer starter kit. But just read the manual, it's very well explained, and you can change well, whatever is on input 25 and the other input, and make your own opening titles and credits. For the lower thirds, a lower third has been provided, input number 23. So if we go to input number 23, and Giles has provided some names as an example. So as you probably know, when you're using a lower third, you can put in one name, but if you click here, and it's going to be explained in my data sources course, if you click here plus, you can add a lot of other names. So Giles says here, put some 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names in it. You see here that by default the first name was added. And here, let me show you, you see here that here is a button that it's lower third. So you see now at the moment it's Giles Warham. If I push again on lower third, normally it has to, it's blue now. You see here that's now it's Kenny's name that's on as a lower third. So it's taking the next row. It's Tommy Willis now, and if I push again on the button, it's the next name. If you say, yeah, oh, but I don't want the next name, you can, of course, what you can do is just right click here and you say, okay, I want Rudy. You have the correct name. So you just right click on the input and choose whatever name you want. But there is a button, if you know the sequence of the speakers in advance, you can put them here, and just with the push on the lower third button, it's going to take the next row. Still some advanced stuff. That's something for you to read. And I think we're almost at the end. Then there is the pre-show, because often you want 10 minutes or quarter of an hour before the show start the live stream to say hello to your audience. And switch to cam 1. Rudy is saying, sorry, okay. Yep, very good thing. So here with the buttons, I didn't show it to you, of course. If I say input number 2, it's going to put input number 2 in preview, and if I then say cut, it's putting the second camera in the output. If I choose camera number 1, it's putting camera number 1 in preview. I say cut, and it's putting that into. Thank you, Merle, for telling me that I forgot to show how the switching of the buttons was working. So it's important to keep your audience a little bit entertained during pre-show. It's often something I don't do. And you can add music clips or pre-recorded footage. To do that, you have to add music clips to playlist A. So here, again, when you click here, the list, in here you add all your inputs, and know that you have to end with a transparent video or with an audio input. Now let's see. Okay, for the pre-show, locate pre-show XAML in the storyboards app, and it's number 15. This is the pre-show. This is the thing Giles set up as pre-show, and you can of course change it. To change it, if just click right, title editor, and here you can say, okay, instead of step back in time.tv, let's say, okay, I really like what you have put there, but I want my own information, so I can put here School of Live Streaming. Text number 2, this is the description of the event. Let's say, okay, SOLS episode number 15, producer quick starter kit. Text number 3, it's when it starts. So here Giles has put it at 8 o'clock. If you have a show that starts, let's say at 9 o'clock. So if I click here and I make it 21, this is, you see here, starting in, it's automatically show you that the show is going to start at 4 minutes 35 seconds. And text 4 is here, a title, and this can be or whatever you want, of course. And to say, oh, this is, I can make this a little bit smaller. So this is something you can play with, or you can make your own. You see it's here, it's with an overlay made, and just you can change all these things. And I've seen, yeah, okay. There is a shortcut from your keyboard. If you press the letter P, it's not going to work here now. Your pre-show is going to be in preview already. All the rest is explained in the manual. And having said this, I have finished for the first part. Now, to do a live broadcast, first you have to check because you have seen that there is, and let me put myself here again on a big one again. You have seen that there's no stream button. You can add a stream button. Charles hasn't done that. I haven't done it on my Xkeys 24 either. So how to put everything under your stream button, you know that, of course. So what you do is, before you're going live, you put your pre-show into preview. So the thing we just configured, this stuff. So on the left, you put this in preview, and when you're ready to make it into program, you just do a cut, and it's in program. What you then do is you click on the stream button, and your live stream to YouTube or Facebook is going to start. So your stream is going to start, your pre-show, let's say 10 minutes. The moment you are ready to start your official show, you do what I've been doing, is you click here on the start button, this one. What it's going to do is it's going to start your recording, everything you put into the playlists, and when the playlist finishes, it's going to switch to your main camera input. So during the show, you just have to use buttons, button 1 to 8 to switch your camera input. So you just do, let's say you have two cameras. One, it's going to preview, and then you push the cut button. 2, cut, 1, cut. And the blue light, I think it's, yeah, you can see it here. My number 1 is a blue backlight now. So you know that input is being activated. And you'll see here now that the 3 mics, this is still blinking. This tells you that the microphone is off. So the moment you want to speak, you have to, and maybe there's going to be some feedback. If you see here that now it has changed blue, and now my microphone is working. If you want to mute yourself, push this button again with the 3 microphones, and you are muted. When your show is finished, what do you have to do? That there is an I put it was end. You have to push the stop button. What's going to happen is then your show is going to end. Your closing sequence is going to play with the optional credits, and at the end of the clip, vMix is going to fade to black and stop the recording. Often you want to go to you want to have a little bit of a post show. If you then click the fade to button again, you're in post show. Your streaming is still going on. You do your post show. When you're finished, you just click in vMix on the stream button. Your stream is going to end, and yeah, this is the end of your show. So this was it for the first part. I hope it did make some sense. Oh, okay, and Giles is telling me that I'm good for another hour, but I'm not. I'm going to end it here. Because otherwise it's already an hour now. Next week, and let me quickly show you what are still going to come. So we are at page 17 of 34. Next week, here from page 18, Giles is going to talk about Zoom. I'm going to fix my audio inputs. And I'm going to make use of the Walls Zoom room next week, so you can see if there are some other people in the Zoom room, what input 7 and 8 are doing, because it's a very interesting thing a very interesting thing we are using during WOLS show. Now, the big advantage of this, and I think it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, was literally 5 minutes before WOLS was going to go live. I read a mail, Rudy, can you do the WOLS show? So I quickly connected my XKeys24 to my main production machine. I loaded up the profile that Giles made, exactly the same profile you've seen here. And of course, what I did on previous occasion was set up my camera and my microphone. So that was already done. And because I have the YouTube, the stream key of WOLS show, everything was ready. And in less than 5 minutes, I was up and running. And the WOLS show was started exactly at 8 o'clock. So that's a big advantage using a profile. And I think it doesn't have to be an XKeys24. You can use an APC Mini or whatever. And you can use this one as a guide to see what's possible with shortcuts, triggers, and overlays. So next week, Zoom, a little bit about chroma key. I'm not going to talk too much about ASIO because I don't have ASIO, but maybe I can tell you a few issues that people had. And then there are some advanced features, play out of pre-recorded footage, using an external mixer is what I'm doing. Giles made some diagrams here. Remote guests via vMix call. You've seen me doing it, but without the producer starter kit. But we go through that and see if it's working. So maybe I'll bring in a guest next week as a test. Taking calls through Zoom. I can show you 7 and 8, but I'm probably not going to do some calls. We'll see. I have to prepare this. So this is about input 7 and 8 and common problems. Audio bus configuration. Using Zoom on a separate computer via NDI. Maybe we can do that. But this is advanced stuff. Talkback facility. I'm not going to show you that because I'm not using it. But I'm going to read it and explain what it means. NDI talkback. But you see, these are really advanced things. Telelights, pen and zoom keys. This is an interesting thing, one that I'm using a lot, showing pictures or slides during a show. So I really think that's an interesting one. Playing audio stingers, sound effects. So this is it. So as you see, well, in half an hour, I installed the producer starter kit, added my cameras, the audio, and it was working. There's still some tweaking to do, of course, but if you download the program from Giles and you read through the manual, and because we've read it so many times, maybe there are still some mistakes. Please mail Giles back, or you can mail me. We can try to make the mistakes. Try to solve the mistakes. There is some laughing here, so I want. Oh, John is eager to have his VDRAM probably, because he's well. Okay, John, you asked me to end the show, so well, I listen to my audience always. So I hope you guys had, it was a little bit clear now what the producer starter kit is, where you can find it, how you can tweak it. And next week, it's probably not going to take that long, because you see here some things I'm not going to explain, maybe 15 minutes, and I'm going to show you some other stuff. Thanks for being on this show. If you're interested in, let's say 55 minutes, if you go to stepbackintime.tv, and Giles, correct me if I'm wrong, if you call into the show with Zoom, there's going to be an explanation again of Mike Benke and Penimation. Because last week there were some issues, and they continue to improve it. So if you want to participate in that show, in 55 minutes, stepbackintime.tv/chat.html, click the blue button and participate in that. So thanks everyone for being on this show. This is it for today. I'll stay a little bit in post-shows, especially for John, and then we can discuss WeDram and other lovely things. Thanks, and see you next week. Bye-bye. Okay, and we are in the post-show. Thanks, Merle. I hope it's helped you or other people a little bit with the X keys, because it's often when you use it a lot you forgot the basic stuff, and that was why I really wanted to follow the manual. Maybe it was a little bit too slow, but one of the critics I got was that my show was not really for beginners or not really for advanced people. I was a little bit between the two. Can someone of the English people, because we have a saying for that, if it's not mussel nor fish, if you're because I really want to know how you say that in English or American, for whatever, if you're struggling between those two. Yeah, Martin, I know the ice cream, but Martin, in 15 minutes I'm leaving and I'm going to eat an ice cream, because as I didn't know if some of you saw, let me show, it's not really, it has nothing to do with the show here, but the last weeks it's 30 degrees and plus here during day, and in the evening it's pouring rain, and a few hours ago this was sent to me. It's a parking lot on a train station here. So this is what this is Scotland normally, but this is what's happening here in Belgium for the moment. So it's crazy, and it's everywhere. Last week it was in my neighborhood. Now it's in the north of Belgium. It's yeah, the weather is getting crazy. But just well, something to do, something I wanted to share with you. Let me see if there are any questions about the producer starter kit. Giles, yes, excellent job, Rudy. Best explanation. Well, Giles, all the credits are going to you, because you have created the kit and you have written the manual. So the only thing I had to do was read and execute. Merle has sold his X keys 24 because he has to buy some groceries. Yeah, that's a good one, Merle. By the way, if there are, it's only for if you want to see Merle live. Merle is doing a live show about homesteading. It's for us Europeans very late in the night, but you can watch the show afterwards and give Merle a thumbs up, because Merle is talking for 3 hours about his homesteading thing, which is really good. John is going to have a proper look to the QSK. Well, to be honest, John, I'm going to be as open as possible about this. We are 7 or 8 people from SOLS are using this in combination with an APC Mini, or just only this one. The interesting thing here is personally, I don't think it's expensive. If there's one disadvantage I have to give, it's the spill of the lights. There is already a black sheet of paper behind. It was delivered with, and it's, even when it's dark, it's not always evident to see which light is on. You see here of the microphone that's blinking, but there is some spill because the buttons are opaque. This is really my only point of criticism. And what's interesting now for me is maybe I'm going to buy a second one, or a bigger one, because I want to keep this one labeled for if I have to do a wall show. And then I'm going to create a second one and my own, because I talked with you about this a few weeks ago. It's very interesting to if I ask you, okay, what are you going to put? Because Giles says for him, I think he thought it was best to create 8 input buttons, B and C. But let's say I don't use playlist B and C, and I don't use audio here. You can change these buttons, and this could be maybe an interesting discussion. And if people want to come online, or even with YouTube chat, that we have a discussion one of the coming weeks and just ask people, okay, maybe you can think already about it. You have 24 buttons. What are you going to put under these 24 buttons? And maybe that can bring up another discussion. And well, maybe we can create another kit based on this kit from Giles and change some inputs. Or you say, yeah, I just want the basis from Giles, and I'm going to change some other inputs. And of course, the biggest advantage for me of the APC Mini, besides more buttons, are the volume sliders, and Dan knows about it. And he's been asked so many times if there's going to be an X keys with volume sliders. But I really like it. It's small. I'm going to take it with me to Amsterdam. If necessary, I can demonstrate the producer starter kit in Amsterdam to some people, and I'll show you what's possible. I'm going to take my laptop with me. John is saying, need translucent labels for the X keys. Yeah, because the problem is, one of the problems, the buttons, they are not square. They are on 3 sides, are there, right? But the bottom is curved. And this, you have, it's not that big of a problem. You need some scissors. But I'm not the best guy with scissors. And some translucent things. But John, I think if you're going to put some translucent labels, you're going to have a lot of spill from the activators. That can be a problem, I think. And Giles is telling that we are using the faders on the APC Mini in the quick starter kit. Yeah. So that there is, you are going to see in the documentation is also there's also in the folder. Maybe I can show you it because Giles didn't stop with this. If I take documents and I take the producer starter kit, where is it? Here, let me put this one up. So what Giles has also created an idea for the Akai APC Mini. I'm playing, I'm doing, because I'm going towards, I'm going to combine probably Elmo. I really like the layout that Elmar made. And I'm going to mimic most of Elmar's thing, but I'm going to tweak a little bit for my liking. And I'm probably going to use the Akai APC Mini for that, in combination with my X-Keys 24. Very nice combination. Okay. Tommy, use your printer and make your labels, cut them out and place them under a button on the X-Keys. Yeah. Use the nose hair pullers to remove the top of the button. Elmar, copyright. Well, all jokes aside, Elmar, it's just a crazy idea, but can you copy a layout of something? Can you copyright a keyboard? Let's say you have a keyboard layout. Can you claim? It's an interesting thing. I think I know you're joking, of course. Maybe not, but it could be interesting to see. Yeah, I've put a lot of effort in stuff. Certainly, like I just like the producer starter kit. Giles is giving it away for free, but I can imagine that you can say, okay, there is some copyright. But it's just an interesting idea, of course. Yeah, tell Elmar see him in court. Oh, by the way, Elmar, are you coming to IBC, or are some of the other Europeans coming to IBC? I imagine that the people from the States are not going to come to IBC. It would be nice to see some people from the chat at IBC. Are you going to come to IBC, John? Okay. Yep. Giles is maybe coming. Martin is maybe also coming to IBC. It would be great to see. Yeah, of course I'm going to see. Well, no passport. Because you guys brought me think, but Brexit is still not in order, I think, because the people told me, yeah, when you are going to come to the UK, maybe you're going to need a passport. I have my regular passport, of course, but not an international passport. Elmar is on holiday, so that's also a nice thing. Yeah, if you're now, or if you're in Europe or not, I still find it crazy, but with all these new things going on, that you need a passport for all things. They think I'm Tommy. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. This post show. So again, in a little bit more than half an hour, if you're interested in knowing more about Penimation, go to stepbackintime.tv and have a nice discussion. For the rest, thanks again for staying so late into the show, and I hope to see you next week for the second part, the advanced part, and maybe something extra about data sources, the stuff I explained yesterday's Inbol show. See you again, and till next week. Bye bye.